There is something infinitely more frightening than a shouting man, and that is a man who stares silently as if he already knows how it all ends. You see, most people believe power is about noise, louder voices, stronger punches, more flamboyant gestures. But let me offer you something deeper. Real power is quiet. It doesn't boast, it doesn't bark, it simply is, and that is terrifying. The moment you stop reacting, the moment you cease the endless effort to prove yourself, is the moment you become ungraspable. Untouchable, feared, your enemies, your critics, they are only empowered when you respond. They feed off your anger, they grow stronger when you flinch, but what happens when you don't, you must understand. Silence is not absence. It is presence condensed. When you walk into a room with the stillness of a mountain, when your gaze holds the weight of the ocean, when your heartbeat is calm in a world of chaos, people notice, they whisper. They wonder, and the ones who wish you harm, they hesitate, they feel something ancient and inexplicable, a sense that they are standing before a being not caught in their little drama, but watching from beyond it. It is not arrogance, it is not indifference, it is awareness. The truth is, nothing frightens a shallow soul more than depth. Your silence forces them to hear their own noise. Your stillness mirrors their restlessness. You don't need to fight, you don't need to shout, you only need to be entirely, unshakably, and so if you ever wish to make your enemies fear you, don't raise your voice, raise your presence, let them speak. Let them scheme, let them try, but remain unmoved, because in the end, the one who says nothing is often the one who knows everything. True power is not measured by the noise you make or the battles you fight, but by your presence. People often confuse power with control, thinking that by asserting themselves loudly and forcefully, they will command respect. But this kind of power is fragile. It is always subject to the whims of the environment and the reactions of others. True power, however, is grounded in something much deeper. It is a power that emanates quietly, without force, from a place of profound self-awareness and understanding. When you walk into a room with an awareness of who you are, with a clarity of mind that needs no external validation, you project a sense of invulnerability. People may try to disturb your peace, provoke you into a reaction, or challenge your stance, but your rootedness remains. This is the kind of power that makes others feel small in your presence, not because you have belittled them, but because you have transcended their need for approval or validation. You no longer need to prove yourself, and this very lack of need is what makes you powerful. This quiet power is unsettling because it cannot be controlled. It is not loud, it does not seek attention, and it does not conform to any social norms that demand constant engagement. When someone who is deeply aware enters a space, they do not need to announce their arrival. Their energy speaks louder than any words could. It is not about making others feel inferior. It is simply the natural effect of being fully in tune with yourself, radiating a calm and centered energy. The unspoken message is clear. I am at peace with who I am, and I don't need anything from you to confirm my worth. In a world that is constantly chasing after external markers of success, money, status, validation, this kind of quiet presence becomes almost unrecognizable. It disorients those who are used to the fast pace of ego-driven competition, but those who are attuned to it understand that this stillness carries far more weight than all the noise. The real power is the ability to remain unmoved, to sit still and observe, to let the world unfold around you without being drawn into its turbulence. And this is why silence, rooted in deep presence, is more powerful than any forceful display of energy. It's not about being passive. It's about being so deeply aware of your own center that nothing can shake you from it. When you live from this place, the need to assert yourself falls away, and your very existence becomes the greatest expression of strength. Silence, as a weapon, is one of the most disarming forces available to you. The world, particularly in our modern era, is full of noise, voices, opinions, demands, and distractions. Everyone seems to have something to say, something to prove, or a way to assert themselves. In the midst of this chaos, silence stands as a profound and often misunderstood force. When used intentionally, silence becomes a tool that can unsettle, disarm, and ultimately make enemies hesitate. When you remain silent, you deny others the opportunity to provoke you, to draw you into their emotional games. Silence is not weakness, it is strength disguised. The most powerful people are not those who feel the need to constantly justify themselves, explain their intentions, or defend their position. Instead, they understand the deep power of remaining still. When someone seeks to engage you in conflict or manipulate you into reacting, your silence forces them to face their own motives, their own insecurities, and their own attempts to control the situation. By remaining silent, you remove the ammunition that others may want to use against you. They cannot argue with you if you do not speak. They cannot provoke you if you do not react. Silence effectively shields you from the volatility of the outside world. This is why silence becomes a weapon. It strips away the power of the other person to affect you. It leaves them with no recourse, no way to provoke a response, and in doing so, they are forced to confront the reality of their own actions. Moreover, silence creates a space for the mind to reflect and the emotions to settle. When you do not engage in the noise around you, you cultivate an inner clarity that others cannot access. This clarity makes you unpredictable and unnerving to those who rely on the chaos of the external world to guide their actions. They do not know how to handle someone who remains composed, someone who does not respond to their attempts to manipulate, intimidate, or provoke. In situations where people try to drag you into their drama, your silence becomes your most powerful response. It shifts the dynamics. You stop being an active participant in their conflict and instead become a silent observer. By not engaging, you subtly assert control over the situation. Your lack of reaction becomes a statement. You are not interested in the petty games they play, and you are not moved by their need for attention. This lack of engagement leaves them disoriented and fearful because they realize that, despite their best efforts, they cannot reach you. In a world driven by constant noise, silence becomes the most profound and effective form of resistance. Stillness, in its most profound form, carries with it a mystery that cannot be easily unraveled. It is the state in which everything and nothing coexist. A person who exudes stillness, who is grounded in the center of their being, is an enigma to those around them. In a world where everything is moving, changing, and racing towards the next thing, stillness seems out of place, as if it does not belong. And yet, this very stillness is what draws attention, curiosity, and yes, even fear. The mystery of stillness lies in its ability to hold space. It does not push or pull, it simply is. The still person does not need to chase or chase away, to prove or disprove. They just are. This stillness forces others to confront something they often try to avoid, their own instability. Stillness is like a mirror that reflects not only who you are, but who they are as well. People who are caught up in the constant movement of their lives are often afraid of stillness because it exposes their restlessness, their inner chaos. When someone who is still enters a room, they do not need to say a word, and yet the entire atmosphere shifts. There is a certain heaviness in the air, a feeling that something unseen is at work. Those who are unaccustomed to stillness might experience discomfort in its presence. It forces them to pause, to slow down, to think more deeply than they are used to. In a world that is obsessed with action, activity, and noise, stillness becomes a mystery, a puzzle that they cannot solve with their usual strategies. They try to fill the silence with words, with gestures, with attempts to break the tension, but the more they do, the more they are trapped in their own attempts. It is like trying to capture a shadow. It cannot be held, only observed. The person who is truly still does not need to engage in the drama around them. They do not need to explain themselves, justify their actions, or get caught up in the world's frantic pace. Their stillness speaks louder than any argument could. It communicates a depth that others cannot easily fathom, and this mystery of stillness, this power that seems to exist beyond the reach of words and actions, creates a subtle fear in those who cannot comprehend it. They sense that something beyond their understanding is at play, and they are afraid of what they cannot control. Stillness, when embodied fully, becomes an energy that is both magnetic and terrifying. It invites others to explore its depth, but it also warns them of the vastness they might uncover, a vastness that, once experienced, cannot be unexperienced. Detachment, in its truest form, holds an incredible power. It is often misunderstood as indifference or apathy, but in reality it is the ultimate form of strength. To be detached is not to be disconnected from the world, but rather to remain unaffected by its constant fluctuations. When you are detached, you cease to be a pawn in the emotional games of others. Instead, you stand as an observer, calm, centered, and unshaken by the chaos around you. This detachment is not a denial of life or of relationships, but a recognition that your peace, your inner world, cannot be dictated by external forces. In the presence of detachment, others often feel a sense of vulnerability. When someone is deeply detached, they no longer depend on approval, validation, or even the conflict of others to define them. They have liberated themselves from the need to prove anything, and in this freedom there lies a profound power. People who are caught in the web of needing external affirmation, or those who are driven by a desire to win the approval of others, often find themselves at the mercy of those they seek validation from. They react, they overcompensate, they get pulled into the petty dramas of life, and in doing so they lose themselves. But the detached person is immune to such things. They watch the world unfold around them with a calm that others cannot penetrate. Detachment also strips away the weaponry of those who would seek to manipulate or harm you. When someone tries to provoke you, to elicit an emotional response, they are disarmed by your lack of reaction. When you do not need to respond to every challenge or fight every battle, you render their attacks impotent. No one can use your emotions against you if you do not let them. The more you detach from the need to control your environment or other people's actions, the more you strengthen your inner world. The world may change, the people around you may shift, but your peace remains. And this steadiness, this refusal to be disturbed, creates an aura of invulnerability. In the face of conflict, detachment is the most powerful response. It does not mean you are indifferent to the situation, but rather that you recognize that no external drama or force can disturb your true nature. When you stop reacting to the world's pressures, you become like water flowing effortlessly around the obstacles in its path, moving forward without resistance. Detachment does not withdraw from life, it rises above it, choosing not to be ensnared by its transient struggles. By being detached, you transform into someone who cannot be controlled, manipulated, or coerced into engaging in battles that do not serve your deeper purpose. In a world that thrives on reaction, detachment becomes the ultimate act of resistance. The concept of an inner fortress is one of the most powerful metaphors for personal strength and resilience. This inner fortress is not a physical structure, nor is it something that can be seen from the outside. It is the deep, unshakable foundation of who you are, a place where your essence resides untouched by external circumstances. When you cultivate this fortress within yourself, you build a sense of security and stability that no external force can destabilize. It is a place of refuge where you can retreat in times of turmoil, and a place of strength from which you can rise when necessary. The beauty of an inner fortress is that it remains untouched by the chaotic forces of the world. It is a sanctuary of peace that no enemy can break into. When you develop this inner fortress, you begin to realize that you are not defined by external events or by the opinions of others. You are not at the mercy of people's judgments, nor are you dependent on circumstances for your sense of self-worth. Your foundation lies in your own understanding of who you are, and this understanding cannot be shaken. The more you build this inner strength, the more untouchable you become. This fortress acts as a shield against the stress, negativity, and conflict that surrounds you. It prevents others from penetrating your peace or taking away your inner calm. You are not affected by their attempts to manipulate, control, or provoke you. This inner fortress is also a place where you are free from fear. Many people react to the world around them out of fear, fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being judged. But when you have an inner fortress, you no longer need to respond to these fears. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone. Fear loses its power over you because you know that no matter what happens externally, you are rooted in a place of deep self-awareness and self-acceptance. This is not arrogance, but a quiet confidence that comes from knowing that your value does not depend on the approval or validation of others. The power of the inner fortress is that it also allows you to remain calm in situations that might otherwise cause panic or anxiety. When you are confronted with challenges or conflict, you can stand firm, knowing that the external world cannot shake you. Your responses become deliberate and measured, not reactive. You no longer feel the need to fight every battle or defend yourself against every attack. The fortress allows you to evaluate situations with clarity, acting only when necessary and choosing to rise above the fray when it is not. By building this inner fortress, you become untouchable not because you isolate yourself from the world, but because you have created a place within yourself where no external force can disturb your peace. It is in this quiet strength that your enemies begin to fear you, not because you engage in battle with them, but because they know that you cannot be moved. You stand as a force unto yourself, unwavering and solid, and that is far more powerful than any external confrontation. Energy speaks louder than words ever could. It is a subtle force, often imperceptible to the untrained eye, but undeniably powerful. The energy you project into the world, whether you are conscious of it or not, communicates far more than anything you might say. Your energy is the silent message that others receive long before you open your mouth, and it can make them feel something before they even understand why. In fact, the words you speak are often secondary to the energy you exude. People respond to your energy, whether it is calm and assured or anxious and chaotic. When you walk into a room, your energy precedes you. It carries a message about who you are, what you believe in, and how you feel about yourself. This energy is felt by everyone in the space, even if they are unaware of it consciously. People might not be able to articulate exactly what it is, but they know when someone radiates confidence, when someone is at ease with themselves, when someone is unfazed by external pressures. The energy of a calm, centered individual creates a space where others feel compelled to step back, to reassess, and to reconsider their own approach. It is not aggression that they fear, but the quiet power of someone who is completely at home in their own being. The energy you project is also a reflection of your inner state. If you are unsettled, anxious, or uncertain, that energy will bleed into every interaction you have. People will pick up on your unease and respond accordingly, sometimes with their own defensive energy. However, when you cultivate a strong, positive energy rooted in self-assurance and clarity, it radiates outward and has the ability to influence the environment around you. This is why those who are grounded and self-aware have such an impact. They create an atmosphere of calm that others either gravitate toward or feel uncomfortable challenging. What is particularly powerful about energy is its ability to disarm without the need for confrontation. In situations where tension is high, where others might be preparing for a verbal battle or seeking to assert dominance, your energy can shift the dynamics entirely. A person who is grounded in their own energy does not need to engage in the game of argument or one-upmanship. Their presence alone is enough to influence the room. It becomes a silent resistance that speaks volumes, not through words, but through a quiet, unwavering strength. Furthermore, energy does not require validation from others. It is not dependent on external approval or recognition. When you project positive energy, it becomes self-sustaining. People might try to push you, provoke you, or challenge you, but their efforts are often futile because your energy is not dependent on their approval. This makes you immune to the fluctuations of others' opinions or actions. Your energy remains constant and steady, while theirs is often influenced by external factors. In the end, it is the energy you carry with you that determines how you move through the world. It is what makes you feel invincible without the need to shout your strength from the rooftops. It is the invisible force that makes enemies pause before attacking, because they sense that to challenge you is to challenge something that cannot be easily swayed. This energy is what makes you truly untouchable. It is not loud, but it is undeniable. It speaks louder than words, and its impact lingers long after you have left the room. In the end, the true power of making enemies fear you without a word lies not in physical strength, nor in forceful words or actions. It lies in your ability to remain grounded, still, and unwavering amidst the chaos of the world. By mastering the art of presence, silence, stillness, detachment, inner strength, and the energy you project, you become a force that cannot be easily moved or swayed. Your enemies, those who seek to provoke or challenge you, will begin to realize that you are not someone who can be easily rattled. They will understand that no matter how hard they try, their tactics are meaningless against someone who remains centered and unshaken. They will fear not your actions, but your ability to rise above the noise of the world and move with quiet strength. In a world constantly demanding more noise, more reaction, more conflict, those who understand the power of silence, stillness, and inner strength become rare and ultimately invincible. You do not need to fight every battle or prove your worth. Your presence, rooted in deep self-awareness, speaks louder than anything you could say. It is this presence, this calm force of energy, that makes you untouchable, and in that untouchability you will find your true power.